At 11 at night, I pushed open the front door with my key. A woman's breathy moans drifted from the living room speakers. I froze. The key slipped from my fingers and clinked onto the marble. That voice wasn't mine. When I nudged the bedroom door aside, two tangled shapes writhed on our crimson duvet. The man was Miles, the fiancé I'd loved for 3 years. The woman was Savannah, the new junior designer his New York development firm had hired last quarter. Miles, Victoria's not coming back, right? Savannah cooed, her voice sticky sweet and nauseating. No way. She's buried in trial prep at the firm. She'll crash on her office sofa tonight. Miles's tone oozed smug victory. I swallowed the bile in my throat, lifted my phone, and pressed record. 3 years of memories. And this was the thanks I got. I backed out soundlessly and lowered myself onto the living room sofa while every anniversary, vacation, and promise rewound in merciless HD behind my eyes. I'm the golden fee divorce lawyer New York billionaires pray never to face. I've dissected every brand of betrayal for clients, never thought the Exhibit A file would bear my own name. The phone buzzed. A WhatsApp from Miles. Baby, swamped at the office. Turn in early. Love you. I snorted, working overtime on top of a gold-digging blonde. Apparently, more giggles drifted down the staircase. I grabbed my purse and walked out before the expensive scent of my own Manhattan penthouse could make me sick. Back at New York Sterling LLP, I opened my laptop and pulled every public and private asset sheet Miles had ever filed. We were supposed to pick up our marriage certificate at 9 tomorrow at New York City Hall. His promise to make me feel safe had put the penthouse condo in my name alone. Now that detail might save me. I began typing the counterplan. The courthouse ceremony would happen. All right. Just not the happy ever after he pictured. Miles controlled 3 development companies, 2 mansions in Westchester County, and 8 figures in tech stock plays. And I knew every corporate veil. I texted Casey, have the nastiest divorce settlement template on my desk by sunrise. Casey pinged back in seconds, boss, aren't you getting married tomorrow? I typed, I am. Then I'm getting unmarried. Hit send. Miles believed the cheating was airtight. He'd learn New York's queen of cross-examination specializes in blowing airtight wide open. I opened the voice memos and dropped tonight's video, the audio file, and screenshots of Savannah's wire transfer receipts into a fresh folder labeled Sterling vs. Carter. Her drunken taunt, Victoria's so frigid. All she talks about is case law, echoed while I worked. For 3 years he praised my mind, my grit, my independence. Turns out those were the exact flaws he whined about to his 23-year-old toy. Fine. Let him discover how a frigid, boring woman can freeze his entire world. I pulled his quarterly statements and, thanks to fiancé access passwords, found the smoking gun. Over the last 90 days, he'd quietly shifted control of his flagship holding into Savannah's name, so the affair wasn't spontaneous. It was strategy. Bad move. I'm Victoria, and I eat hostile asset shielding for breakfast. Next morning I stepped into my walk-in closet, chose the blood-red Chanel jacket dress, and pinned my grandmother's diamond barrette at my throat. Courtroom armor. Miles waited outside New York City Hall at 8:55, roses in hand, that coverboy smile perfectly pasted on. Baby, you're breathtaking, he whispered, brushing my cheek with familiar lips. I accepted the bouquet. Thank you. Today really will be special. Special for me. Anyway, the last good day he'd ever have. The paperwork took 12 minutes. When the clerk slid the fresh marriage certificate across the counter, Miles swung me in a theatrical circle. Victoria, you're finally Carter. Yes, I echoed. Eyes on the crimson seal. Carter, tonight we'll toast at the Grand New York presidential suite. Caviar. The works. He winked. I smiled. Pick me up at 8. He kissed my forehead and jogged off to close a last-minute deal. I watched his Tesla disappear, then marched straight back to the firm conference room. Now, I told my team, we're litigating a divorce that doesn't officially exist yet. Casey's jaw dropped when I slapped the marriage certificate beside the draft petition. 72 hours, I said, before he realizes every dollar is frozen and every board seat is mine. Assignments flew. Casey subpoenaed every bank. Walter dialed Judge Ramos for an emergency asset freeze order. I drafted demands and a media plan. 3 o'clock. Miles called. Babe, meeting ran long. Might be late. I laughed under my breath. Take your time. By 5 Casey had the numbers, 8 million wired to Savannah in microtransfers, plus a $30 million Greenwich mansion deeded to her last month. My heart rate didn't budge. My fingers flew across the keyboard building the complaint. WhatsApp from me to Miles, Suite 3701, the Grand New York. Don't keep your bride waiting. Then I phoned the hotel GM, old golfing buddy of mine. Dom Perignon breathing on ice. Miniature chocolate ganache cake center stage. the perfect trap baited with romance. Half past. The lock clicked. Miles strode in. Apology already forming. Babe. The client, he froze. Because Savannah was perched on the sofa. Champagne flute halfway to her lips. Evening. Carter's guest of honor, I toasted. Welcome to our wedding celebration. Miles. Why are you here? Savannah squeaked. Leaping up. Miles's face drained to ash. Victoria. What is this? Nothing complicated, I answered, tapping play on my phone. The bedroom soundtrack flooded the suite, every breath, every moan. Savannah's glass tipped, spilling rose across the white carpet. Miles looked ready to vomit. Let me explain, he started. No need. I slid a thick folder across the coffee table. Divorce settlement. Sign. Divorce. We've been married 8 hours. Exactly. Sunrise vows. Sunset papers. Poetic, don't you think? I rose and gazed over Manhattan's glittering skyline. You hid 8 million and a mansion behind her Instagram handle, planning to stash more once the ring was on my finger. Sloppy. Miles stammered. You, how, wife, lawyer, same package, darling. Savannah dropped to her knees, tears streaking mascara. Victoria, please, we love each other. True love. I laughed coldly. Then why didn't you two come out in the open? Why lie to me? Miles ground his teeth. Victoria, what do you want? I want something very simple. I pointed at the divorce settlement on the coffee table. Sign it. Leave with nothing. Never. Miles slammed the table. Why the hell should I walk out empty-handed? Because you cheated. Because you looted our joint property. I pulled another stack of papers from my bag. These are the asset freeze orders I just filed. Starting tomorrow, every account you have is locked. Miles snatched the documents. His face turned the color of ash. When did you? While the two of you were busy enjoying each other. The room sank into a deathly hush. After a long silence, Savannah whispered. Miles, maybe we should just give Victoria her money back. Give it back? I smiled. Money is the least of it. What matters is that you crushed my feelings. I stepped up to Miles. 3 years of my youth. 3 years of trust. How much do you think that's worth? He clenched his fists. Victoria, don't push me. Push you? My voice turned to ice. Am I pushing? Or were you? I opened my phone and dialed. Hi, is this New York Tribune reporter? I've got an exclusive leak. Wait. Miles lurched forward. What are you doing? Nothing much. Just letting New York know the headline. Hotshot developer Miles Carter caught cheating on wedding eve. Miles knew I wasn't bluffing. One splash in the tabloids and his empire was ash. He collapsed onto the sofa, looking a decade older in a heartbeat. Victoria, can we settle this in private? There was pleading in his voice. I pocketed the phone. Of course, sign. Right now. Savannah sobbed. Victoria, we'll give back every dollar. Just please let us go. Let you go. I sat back, crossing my legs. When you betrayed me, did either of you think of letting me go? Miles picked up the settlement, hand trembling. This is brutal. You want 70% of everything. Brutal? I shrugged. Under New York law, the cheater gets little or nothing. I'm only taking 70. Call it mercy. I rose, walked to the minibar, and poured myself a glass of red. And don't forget, the penthouse condo is titled in my name alone. Miles's complexion turned even uglier. That condo was worth 80 million, most of his fortune. Victoria, I paid for that place. I only put it in your name because, under the deed, whoever's on the title owns it. I sipped elegantly. You said it would give me security. Looks like a smart move now. Savannah wiped her tears. Victoria, if you do this, we'll have nothing left to live on. A way to live? I set the glass down. When you chose betrayal, did you leave me one? I moved to the window, gazing down at the river of headlights. Savannah, do you know, last night, when I heard your little conversation, I wanted to die. Silence swallowed the room. 3 years of love. 3 years of trust. Trashed like garbage. I turned to them. Now you finally feel pain. Too late. Miles shot to his feet, glaring. Victoria, don't corner me. At worst, we both burn. Burn together? I sneered. Are you sure you have enough fuel? I drew one more folder from my bag. These are the records of your insider trading. If I drop them on the sex desk. His face drained of blood. He snatched the folder. Every illegal trade was laid out in black and white. How? How did you get this? I told you, this is my profession. I eased back onto the sofa, still feeling like burning it down. Miles? Savannah collapsed, kneeling, bawling. Victoria, please, we know we're wrong. I looked at her pathetic display and felt nothing. No, you're wrong. If I hadn't caught you, would you ever? Miles drew a ragged breath, picked up the pen. I'll sign. Miles, don't. Savannah clutched his arm. Enough. He flung her off. This is your fault. If not for you, I wouldn't be here. She froze, staring in disbelief. Watching them turn on each other gave me a sweet, quiet thrill. Men, when the roof caves and they always shove the woman out first. Miles scrawled his name on every page and hurled the pen away. Done. Happy? I gathered the papers, checking each signature. Perfect. Pleasure doing business. He sat like a puppet with its strings cut. I slipped the settlement into my bag and headed for the door. Wait. Miles's voice was hollow. Victoria, is there really no way back? I paused and looked over my shoulder. What do you think? I'll end it with her. We can start fresh. Start fresh? I cut him off. And I'm supposed to trust you again? Savannah lunged and hugged his legs. You can't dump me. You promised you'd marry me. He shoved her away in disgust. What's the point now? It's all because of you. Seeing them bite each other filled me with cold satisfaction. Miles, now I see the real you. My voice was ice. The moment things get rough, you throw responsibility on a woman. I actually loved you for 3 years. What a waste. I picked up my bag and walked out. Oh, one last thing. Both lifted their heads. Starting tomorrow, Savannah is fired. HR already has the memo. Her eyes bulged. You can't do that. I can. I smiled thinly. Because as of tomorrow, I'm the majority shareholder. Miles's jaw dropped. What are you talking about? I mortgaged the penthouse to buy the stake. The penthouse is mine, so the shares are now mine. I opened the door and gave them a final glance. Good. Bye. Ex-husband. The moment the door shut, I heard Savannah's wails and Miles's furious roars. I glided toward the elevator, feeling lighter than air. This revenge was only the opening act. Back home, I opened my laptop and sorted the files I would need tomorrow. The settlement was signed, but the divorce still had to be finalized. Until then, I would leave him no room to squirm. My phone rang. Casey. Victoria. Miles's attorney just called. He wants to talk. About what? The settlement is executed. They're hoping to renegotiate the split. I snorted. Tell them the answer is no. If they try to back out, I'll courier the insider files to the SEC myself. I hung up and leaned back, replaying the last 24 hours in my head. From discovery to annihilation, one day. That's the power of professionalism. I lifted my phone and texted and, drinks on me, celebrating my rebirth. She replied instantly, new life. Didn't you get married today? Married and unmarried in the same day. What? I gave her the short version, and called, laughing. Victoria, you're incredible. That scumbag had it coming. This is just the beginning, I said, staring out at the night skyline. I want them to know the price of betraying me. You've still got more moves? Of course. The best scenes are still to come. I thought of Miles's despairing face, and a rush of pleasure welled up in me, stronger than anything I'd ever felt. 3 years of love, wiped out in a single night, but I don't regret it, because I won. Early next morning, my phone lit up with Casey's name. Victoria, something's happened. Miles just posted a statement on Twitter claiming you blackmailed him. I opened Twitter at once. Miles had released a lengthy thread accusing me of abusing my position as a New York Sterling LLP attorney to extort him and force him into an unfair divorce settlement. The post was pure melodrama. He painted himself as the victim and me as the heartless villain. The comment section had already exploded. Netizens rushed to condemn me as ruthless. I smiled coldly and dialed a number. Reporter, remember the exclusive leak I promised last night? You can publish now. An hour later, an article headline, prominent New York developer cheats, transfers millions to mistress, went viral across every platform. It laid out the full chronology of Miles's affair, complete with wire transfer receipts, chat screenshots, and hotel keycard logs. Public opinion flipped in an instant. Now Miles was the cheating rat everyone cursed. My phone rang non-stop with interview requests. I took only one call, from the city's top TV anchor. Attorney Sterling, do you have any comment on Miles's accusations? Only this, I answered, calm and steady. As a professional lawyer, every step I took was lawful and justified. Betrayal carries a price. That is the baseline of both law and morality. The clip went online immediately, reinforcing my reputation as a sharp, principled attorney. That afternoon, Miles rang me. Victoria, you've gone too far. You're destroying me. His voice was nearly a roar. Too far. I gave a cold laugh. You smeared me first. I'm simply protecting my name. Delete those files and I'll give you extra compensation. Too late. Miles, I cut in. Everyone has a bottom line. You cheat. You pay. I hung up and gazed at the sunlight flooding my window. My mood felt lighter than air. That's how the world should work. Good people protected, bad ones punished. At dusk, a text arrived from Savannah. Victoria, please let us go. I'm willing to step aside. I answered, you should have thought of that before. That night, Anne and I celebrated at the city's finest restaurant. Victoria, you're officially famous. Hashtag Queen of Comebacks is trending, and said, lifting her glass. Just did what had to be done, I replied, clinking mine against hers. Poor Miles, though. Company stocks in free fall and 2 joint projects got pulled. I shrugged. You reap what you sow. Just then, the maitre d' appeared. Ms. Sterling, a gentleman would like to see you. I glanced up, an unfamiliar middle-aged man. And you are? I'm Miles's father, Richard. I narrowed my eyes. Mr. Carter, what brings you here? Richard settled opposite me. Victoria, I'd like to talk about my son. His tone was heavy. I know he was wrong, but what you're doing will ruin him. I set my glass down. He ruined my trust and my feelings. I can apologize on his behalf and offer additional compensation if you'll just show him some mercy. My sympathy stirred as I looked at this aging man, but memories of Miles's betrayal hardened me again. Mr. Carter, I appreciate the gesture, but some things can't be undone with apologies. Richard sighed. Victoria, name your price. Money, property, even shares. Just let him go. I shook my head. I don't want those. I want justice. Define justice. That the person who betrayed me pays the appropriate price. Richard rose. Please think it over. Miles made a terrible mistake, but he's still young. He deserves a chance to change. I stood as well. He had his chance. He wasted it. Richard left, shoulders drooping, and stroked my hand. Victoria, are you all right? I shook my head. I'm fine. Yet my feelings were mixed. Richard was a decent man cursed with an unworthy son. The next day, I was at the firm processing Miles's asset freeze orders. Casey handed me a stack of folders. Victoria, Miles's New York estate is chaos. Employees are jumping ship. Normal market psychology, I said calmly. Also, Savannah was fired. Word is no one will hire her now. I said nothing and kept reading. At noon, while eating takeout in my office, I heard shouting outside. I opened the door to find Savannah arguing with reception. I need to see Victoria. Let me see her. Savannah screamed, eyes bloodshot. Security moved to escort her out. Let her in, I called. She stumbled into my office, looking haggard. Victoria, please, let me go. I know I was wrong. She dropped to her knees. I stared down, expressionless. You realize that now? I never should have gotten involved with Miles. I destroyed your relationship. Tears streaked her face. Then tell me, why did you? I really loved him. Love? I scoffed. Love gives you the right to wreck someone else's life? She bowed her head. I know I was wrong. Punish me however you like, but please spare Miles. Still pleading for him. Aren't you two soulmates? She bit her lip. Because I truly love him. I studied her, conflicted. Even now, she was thinking of him. And Miles. What did he say about her in that hotel hallway last night? Savannah, do you know what Miles said about you yesterday? She lifted her tear-streaked face. He said it was all your fault, that if not for you, he wouldn't be where he is now. Savannah's skin turned ashen. That's the man you love, I added, stepping closer. When it counted, he blamed you instead of protecting you. She collapsed, sobbing. I crouched beside her. I won't pardon Miles, but you still have a choice. Walk away and rebuild your life far from him. After Savannah left, I returned to my files. Afternoon brought an unexpected visitor, Brown, a well-known New York entrepreneur and one of Miles's key partners. Ms. Sterling, I'm here to discuss Miles's situation, he said without preamble. Please, Mr. Brown, go on. I put down the document in my hand. What exactly are you suggesting? Mr. Brown, I'm hoping you'll consider a settlement. After all, you were once husband and wife. There's no need to make this so ugly. I gave a cold laugh. Mr. Brown, if it were your wife who had betrayed you, would you choose to settle? Brown stalled for a second. That's different. How is it different? Does betrayal come in genders? Brown had no reply. I went on. Mr. Brown, I understand your position, but affairs of the heart are off limits to outsiders. He sighed. Attorney Sterling, business is a battlefield, but you still leave the enemy a way out. A way out. I stood up. When he chose betrayal, did he stop to leave me one? Seeing persuasion was useless. Brown could only leave. That evening, just as I was about to get off work, my phone rang. It was the hospital. Is this Victoria Sterling? Miles Carter has been in a car accident. You're listed as his emergency contact. My heart lurched and I rushed to New York Presbyterian Hospital. Outside the I found Richard and Savannah. Victoria, you're here. Richard's eyes were red. How is he? I asked. The doctor says no life danger, but the injuries aren't light. Savannah sobbed. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, he wouldn't be like this. I stared at the red light above the emergency doors. My feelings tangled. Whatever else. We had loved each other for 3 years. 2 hours later, Miles was wheeled out. The doctor said he had a mild concussion and would need several days of observation. In the ward, Miles looked at me weakly. Victoria, You came, I nodded. I'm sorry. His voice was barely a whisper. I gave no answer. Richard pulled me aside. Victoria, seeing him like this, couldn't you forgive him just this once? I glanced at the man in the bed. For an instant my heart softened, but memories of Miles's betrayal hardened me again. Uncle Richard, sympathy is one thing, principle is another. I turned and walked out of the ward. In the elevator I received a text from Casey, Boss V. Miles's lawyer contacted me. He wants to withdraw the divorce petition. I answered with a cold smile. Tell them. Not a chance. Stepping out of the hospital, I felt a release I'd never known. Some people, some things, once chosen, can't be undone. Miles chose betrayal. I chose revenge. This is the adult world. Every choice carries its own price. A week later Miles was discharged. His company, battered by the scandal, was hemorrhaging money. Several major projects were unilaterally scrapped by partners, and the share price hit rock bottom. Through my assistant I learned he had begun selling assets just to keep the firm afloat, but that was no longer my concern. I threw myself into a new case, trying to outrun the unpleasant memories. That afternoon, while untangling a messy property dispute, my phone rang with an unexpected call. Attorney Sterling, this is District Attorney Miller from the New York DA's office. I'd like to ask you about something. My stomach tightened. DA Miller, go ahead. It concerns the insider trading tip we received against Miles Carter. Word is you supplied the evidence? I drew a slow breath. Yes, I have a duty to hand proof of crime to law enforcement. Understood. We'll investigate thoroughly. If the charges hold, Miles faces serious penalties. Leaving the DA's office my emotions were mixed. It was the punishment he deserved. Yet we had once been in love. That afternoon Richard called. Victoria, why are you doing this? His voice cracked with pain. Uncle Richard, I'm only performing my civic duty. But he's your husband. I corrected. And before the law, everyone is equal. Richard wept over the line. Victoria, I beg you. Pull the complaint. I'll kneel if you want. I shut my eyes. Uncle Richard, some roads, once taken, have no turn back. I hung up and watched the sunset beyond the window, my heart full of unsorted flavors. Evening came, and Savannah appeared in my office. She looked wretched, eyes swollen, cheeks streaked with old tears. Victoria, please withdraw the report. She dropped to her knees. Stand up, I said coldly. I won't. Not until you promise. I studied her. I warned you to leave him and start fresh. Why chain yourself to his ruin? Because I love him, she cried. However he treats me, I love him. I shook my head. That isn't love. It's self-torture. Call it what you want. I'm willing. I stepped closer. Real love is mutual. A man who truly loves you wouldn't let you suffer like this. Savannah froze. Miles never loved you. You were just a toy. Cruel, but true. She collapsed on the carpet, sobbing. I returned to my desk. I've said what I can. The rest is your choice. She wept for a long while, then stumbled out. Watching her go, a flicker of pity stirred, but I crushed it. Pitiable people usually have earned their fate. Her choices wrote her ending. 3 days later the DA formally opened the insider trading case against Miles. The news detonated through the business world. Miles's company shares went into freefall, flirting with delisting. I watched the reports in my office, my heart calm as still water. Then Casey burst in. Boss V. Trouble. Miles is making a scene downstairs, says he won't leave till he sees you. I frowned. Called security? They're on the way, but he's threatening to stay till you come down. I sighed, stood, and headed for the elevator. On the front steps I found Miles disheveled, hair matted, stubble thick, every inch of polish gone. Miles, I said, stopping in front of him. He lifted bloodshot eyes. Victoria, so you finally show. What do you want? I want to know. Do you hate me enough to destroy me? His voice was gravel. I don't hate you. I answered evenly. I'm only doing what I believe is right. Right? He gave a cracked laugh. Wreck my business. Wreck my name. Send me to prison. That's your idea of right? Miles, you picked this road yourself. He grabbed my hand. I know I wronged you, but this is vicious. I shook free. Vicious. When you took another woman into our bed, did you think of me? Bystanders gathered, whispering. Miles noticed and lowered his voice. Victoria, can we talk somewhere private? There's nothing left to say. I turned to leave. Victoria, he shouted. You can't do this to me. We loved each other for 3 years. I stopped, turned, and looked at him. Exactly because we loved each other for 3 years. Your betrayal is even more unforgivable. After saying that, I walked into the New York Sterling LLP building without looking back. Miles's desperate cries came from behind me, but I didn't turn around. Some paths, once you take the wrong step, can never be retraced. That afternoon I got a call from a lawyer friend saying Miles had been summoned by the DA's office. Victoria, are you really taking it this far? My friend sounded puzzled. The law is the law. You can't compromise because of personal ties. My friend sighed. You've changed so much I barely recognize you. After hanging up, I stared at myself in the mirror. I really had changed. From a naive woman who still believed in love to a calm, rational avenger. But I didn't regret it, because the world had taught me that only when you're strong enough can you protect yourself from being hurt. As evening approached and I was about to leave work, a text suddenly arrived. It was from Savannah. Ms. Victoria, I'm leaving New York. Thank you for letting me see the truth. Reading it stirred complicated feelings inside me. Maybe she finally understood what real love is. That night, back home, I stood on the balcony gazing at the city lights. Tomorrow, Miles would face trial. This revenge was about to end, yet I felt none of the exhilaration I'd expected. Only emptiness and exhaustion. Miles's trial began. As the key witness, I had to take the stand. In court, he looked haggard, all his former swagger gone. When I stepped into the witness box, his gaze followed me the entire way. Witness, please state what you know about the defendant's insider trading, the prosecutor asked. I detailed every piece of evidence and circumstance I had. Miles's attorney tried to defend him, but the proof was solid and the battle already lost. Finally, the judge called a recess and set a later date for sentencing. As I left the courthouse, Richard stopped me. Victoria, are you satisfied now? The old man's eyes were full of despair. Looking at him, a flicker of guilt rose in me, but I quickly hardened my resolve. Uncle Richard, these are consequences he needs to bear. Richard shook his head and walked away. A week later, the court delivered its verdict. For insider trading, Miles was sentenced to 3 years in prison and a $10 million fine. When news broke, the entire business community buzzed about the case. Some said my methods were too cruel, others that I'd done the right thing. I didn't care what people said. I only knew that justice had been served. That afternoon, when the judgment arrived, I received an unexpected call. Victoria, it's me, Miles. He was calling from prison. What do you want to say? I want to say, I'm sorry. His voice was calm, not because I'm afraid of prison, but because I truly mean it. I stayed silent for a long time. Victoria, I know I hurt you and that it's too late for words, but I still want you to know, I really did love you once. Love? I gave a cold laugh. This is how you show love. I know I'm not worthy of saying that word. His voice cracked. But please believe those 3 years were real for me. I closed my eyes. Miles, if time could flow backward, would you still choose to betray me? On the other end, silence stretched. I don't know, he finally said. But I do know losing you is the greatest regret of my life. Does regret help? No. He gave a bitter laugh, but I still needed to say it. After hanging up, I sat in my office, tears streaming down my face. 3 years of feelings ended completely. No victors, only wounds. 6 months later, my life returned to its own orbit. Business at New York Sterling LLP was booming, and I had become a well-known power woman in the field. That sensational revenge earned me fame, but cost me my faith in love. One afternoon, while I was working on a case, Casey walked in with a courier envelope. Victoria, this is for you. I took the parcel, glanced at the sender, and my heart jumped. It was from Miles. Inside were a short letter and a small box. The letter read, Victoria, this is the ring I prepared for you on our 3rd anniversary. I meant to propose that day, but my greed and stupidity made me miss the moment. I'm returning it to you now, not to win you back, but because it belongs with you. I hope you find someone truly worthy of your trust. Be happy, Miles. I opened the box. Inside lay an exquisite solitaire ring. Sunlight struck the diamond, scattering brilliant rays. Holding the ring, I recalled the beautiful times we'd shared. Back then, we truly loved each other. Regrettably, love can't survive betrayal. I put the ring back, closed the box, and locked it in my desk drawer. Not because I still love him, but because it represents the innocence I once had. That evening I had dinner with my best friend Anne. Victoria, are you still thinking about him? Anne asked with concern. I shook my head. No. Good. You should start a new chapter. I will. I raised my glass to new beginnings. The next day the front desk rang. Ms. Sterling, a gentleman is here to see you. Thinking it was another client, I walked into the conference room, only to find a young man I didn't know. Hello, I'm Shane Cole, a partner at River Cole LLP. He stood and offered his hand. I shook it. Victoria Sterling, have a seat. I've long admired your reputation in the profession, Shane said with a smile. Thank you. What can I do for you? Our firm would like to collaborate with you on a major case. He outlined a complicated cross-border A file. It's challenging. And with your ability, I'm sure we can handle it, he added. After careful thought I said, I can join, but with one condition. Name it. I want to be lead counsel. Shane smiled. Done. And that's exactly what I hoped. So began the new partnership. Over the next several months, I worked closely with Shane's team and closed the deal successfully. Shane is an outstanding lawyer and a gentleman. Through the collaboration, we developed mutual admiration. On the day we wrapped up the matter, he invited me to dinner to celebrate. It's been a pleasure working with you, Victoria, he said, raising his wine glass. Likewise. Would I have the honor of continuing our cooperation? He looked into my eyes. I understood what he meant but didn't answer right away. Shane, I just came out of a failed relationship. I may need time. I can wait. His gaze was sincere. Looking at him, warmth rose in my chest. Maybe I really should give myself a chance to begin again. Thanks for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your opinions. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you next time.